Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 30 of Hard Knock Hawks. I'm Anthony, along with Chris, Leon, and Marco. And this is the podcast where we talk about our favorite NBA team, the Atlanta Hawks, and sometimes other stuff in the NBA too. Today we are covering some breaking news for the Atlanta Hawks as Landry Fields was dismissed today. That's the politically correct term. This comes as a bit of a surprise considering that he was recently interviewed during exit interviews. And for a lot of fans, we considered him safe for the most part. But I want to go to, I think, I'll go to Marco first. What did you generally thought about uh, Landry getting fired today?
Um, it came at a surprise, man. Was funny enough in the group chat we got a fair warning from somebody, and I didn't know what it was, but I had a speculation on what it was. But then it happened. I was at work, so funny it happened during like middle of me working, and I had stopped everything. I'm a bad worker when news comes out like that. So after that, I'm focused on that. Work can wait. So yeah, it was weird, especially to get the timing because you had him do the exit interviews for everybody too. Like he gave a whole speech before he left. And some other stuff. So yeah, the whole thing is weird. But I don't think it's is as deep as some of the fans are making it. Like like people are saying that we're resetting the plan or whatever. I don't really think it's leading to that. Or some people believe that Landry going means Trey is going. I don't really feed into that. But yeah, situation was weird. Chris, what do you think on it, man?
Well, I mean, Landry wasn't gonna have forever. There were some rumors that the Hawks had kind of consistently been trying to get some guys over the last couple years, and no deals had really gotten over the line. There hadn't been too much. The contracts were good, right? The Dyson trade was nice, but other than that, there hadn't been any other moves that really kind of raised the ceiling that Landry was able to pull off. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I think when you have, like, they say when you have like two quarterbacks, you don't have any, right? And this was like a front office that had like four quarterbacks, and I think they just didn't have one singular voice. And Landry wasn't powerful enough to kind of take control of that group. So, I think it was only a matter of time before someone kind of stepped forward, and it sounds like Salah was the guy who was making moves. So, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, wait, what do you think, Leon?
Um, I think it's interesting that Landry has been dismissed or removed in a very similar fashion to his predecessor, where they brought somebody else in to be on the team, and a couple of months later or a year or so later, that person is now the GM. So it seems as though the loudest voice in the room gets the hat that year. I mean, that's just what it seems like. Landry hasn't been the GM for too long. I thought that, yeah, trading for DJ was a mistake. I thought the return he got for DJ was a step in the right direction. I think that if your ownership or if you're looking from the outside and say the draft resume does not look great, Kobe Buffkin hasn't played meaningful basketball yet in his career. AJ Griffin, great rookie year. What the hell happened after that? And then Zachary Ricochet has been fine, just fine. But obviously, everybody's criticism of him is that he does not look like a normal number one overall pick. So I think as a fan, looking from the outside in, you don't really know. It's hard to critique what anybody did because it's hard to know who was in charge of what decision. Um, I think overall, what the Hawks have been doing the past year and a half or so has been pretty good. I've been pretty supportive of the DeJounte deal, the return for DeJounte, and the moves that they made at the deadline. I thought were fine as far as just getting off money. I think Mr. Saleh has a really good opportunity uh, with a payroll that now only has two people making over $20 million going into next season. That's Jalen and Trey. and a bunch of smaller contracts. He's a pick surplus, whether you like it or not, and it's barely a pick surplus, at least even a slight surplus. So he's given an opportunity to do whatever he wants, whether that be go hard, reset, or continue to build with what we have. I think to what Chris said is, they've struck out on a couple of shot creator forwards that we've was kind of the piece we've been looking for, whether that be Pascal Siakam or Brandon Ingram or the rumors about Kevin Durant. So it's interesting. I mean, I am kind of surprised. I'll admit. I thought that Landry and Quinn and Trey as a unit had another year, but it seems as though his superiors were dissatisfied with his performance overall, and now he is unemployed. That's all it really is. And
Hold on, Ant, for you. My bad, Ant. I didn't mean to
Go
cut you
ahead.
off. I will say though, but you gotta. I mean, you only can get across that. You only can say you're linked to somebody so much times. Then we finally get to the finish line, and you just stop right before you get to it. I think this is just me speculating. This is not me saying I have any source or anything, but I'm pretty sure that BI deal had something, probably a little bit to do with it, because we all agreed that it wasn't. Well, three of us agreed it wasn't overpay, and Ant was in the middle of it. And I feel like that was kind of a determining factor, because especially to what you were going to give up to get BI, that wasn't a lot at all. It was like Bogey and something else, and I was like,
Bogey
those are
Clint,
players.
yeah, a
I'm
few
like,
good
those are
picks.
players we could definitely lose. Well, not lose, but those are players you can live without, with how the roster was getting constructed. So I don't know. It's only like so much Landry could do, and I think this is important too. That Landry was a old regime guy, and I think they just let Landry stay there until they could really figure out what they wanted to do, or if they needed to get somebody with more experience. Because Landry was a Nick Wrestler guy, to put that out there, because they bonded over something very minuscule, and that's how he did get the job. But now that Nick kind of has gotten fired too, it's kind of like Landry was right after that. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
and how do you feel about it?
it's funny you mentioned that because maybe like this could be a good thing because one of the biggest criticisms of like the Hawks, um, you know, general management over the past few years has been like how much ownership has played a big role in generally on all these decisions, like the DeJounte Murray trade. So maybe this could just be a sign of just not Nick Wrestler, Tony Wrestler, just fully moving away from just the basketball operations altogether. But I don't know. It's weird because like on one hand, when you just look at the timeline of these things, it seems that the hiring of Onsi Sala may have just been just a ticking talk. I said ticking clock for Landry Fields because I think that inexperience from Landry was just seems like always a big problem for him, especially when it came to just closing deals like Pascal Siakam or Brandon Ingram, and why we weren't able to just get any of those players. I mean, you remember this stuff, Marco, because you were in the spaces I hosted or other people hosted, and Chris was in them too, where we're just constantly waiting and seeing what happened with other people over and over again, and seeing if anything was going to happen. Eventually, it just never came to be because they just thought it wasn't going to be worth it in the end. And I think maybe this firing is just an indicator that the Hawks are just trying to be seriously just going to go in and make this big playoff push next season.
I mean, you
Now,
can. Oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you kind of have. You don't have to. Well, you do have to make a playoff push next
Yeah,
season, because I feel like you have the pieces. You have four people on cheap. You have four of your core players on cheap deals or team friendly deals, and you have, of course, your superstar on all star superstar um, on his deal. So you have flexibility. Like I said, the Hawks have like 41 million to play with beginning of the season. A bunch of trade exceptions. You got 7 tradable picks. Like kind of can make something shake.
Yeah, like whoever the next GM is, they're gonna have
Basketball operations.
basketball operations. Thank you. They're gonna have they're gonna have a lot of stuff to work with. You're gonna have a lot of assets, a lot of players and tools to just basically use if they're gonna be able to push the Hawks to the next step. Because I think one of the main things the Hawks have just been missing generally has been just somebody to just raise the ceiling. Because the Pacers were able to get Siakam and he raised their ceiling, and other teams like the Cavs, they got Donovan Mitchell, he raised their ceiling. Like we need that ceiling raiser, I feel like eventually. So, but I'm gonna ask y'all generally. I think we went into it already. What were your general thoughts on Landry Fields' tenure for the most part? As we get into it, like we already went to, I think, a bit to his moves already. I can start with you, Leon. But what were your general thoughts on him as a GM for the most part?
Sorry. Well, with the moves he made overall, I would give him a solid B minus. I think that the DJ deal is the worst look overall. The buying of DJ. I still think that as a pure cost, it was fine because you really essentially only sent 2 of your own first round picks unprotected, true, and a swap in 2 seconds because the Charlotte pick was never going to convey. And Danilo Gallinari, who is old and played very little meaningful basketball after he was traded in that deal. So I think the cost analysis piece of that deal was overall fine. But for our team, obviously it was a terrible fit despite his talent level. So other than that, like I said, the drafts were up and down. I think everybody kind of liked Zach. You'd love to know whose decision that ultimately was. Um, you'd love to know some deals that were on the table that were rejected. Some, what it would have taken to get a Siakam, what it would have taken to get a Brandon Ingram. We know the prices they were unable to beat, but what that looks like, what that would have looked like for the Hawks, you don't know. The roster moves are fine. Never did anything too beautiful or too bad outside of the DJ trade, but obviously the sell of DJ to the Pelicans to get somebody who's gonna, he's a defensive player of the year finalist and still on his rookie deal. The second draft we talked about, he obviously executed that pretty well. But again, Salah was on the team at that point. Who made the deal? It's just kind of hard to know because for part of the time that Landry was GM, Travis Schlenk was the president of basketball operations, and then shortly, a couple years after that, Solly comes on, and now he is the GM. So it's hard to know, who had power when and who made what decisions because we know for a fact that there were so many voices in the room. So it's just hard to know. But I'll give him a solid B minus, C plus probably, because we have kind of been stuck in the same place organizationally. And some of that is the deals that were signed, whether that be the big JC deal, the Clint extension, the Dre extension, finally the Bogey extension. Finally got all this stuff off the books. So like I said, Salah's got an opportunity to, or whoever has an opportunity to continue to build, which is, what Travis Schlenk was doing. I guess he just wasn't building Rome fast enough. Who's next? Chris?
Sure. I'll grade old Landry. Instead of C, I was thinking C, but I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10. Is what we'll go. It's underwhelming tenure. It's not his fault, to your point, right? They had some contract issues that weren't the fault of the GM, to my knowledge. The owner signs the checks, they paid their guys. They got kind of caught in that trap, right? They had a young team that won, and you don't want to break that up right away. So they paid a bunch of people. Landry didn't have the flexibility you probably would want as a GM, and by the time you kind of got in a situation where you got it, well, now you're losing your job, which it's unfortunate that like transition guy. I feel like that he can get caught up in that sometimes, right? You get brought him to fix a mess, and it takes a few years to do it. By the time the mess is cleaned up, they want a new guy, right? And it kind of feels like a pound of flesh the fans needed after another rough year. Even if the plan was to kind of reset a little bit, it's possible they wanted to get something bigger accomplished, right? In terms of adding a piece at some point in the last year, and it just seems like Landry wasn't able to get that done, right? The DJ trade, like selling a guy like DJ, is a little bit easier than like bringing in a guy and keeping the team competitive. And I guess just finishing off that deal, just Landry couldn't do it, man. So I'm gonna give him a 6 out of 10. He did solid work in terms of getting some of these contracts off, even though it sounds like he might not even have been the guy that really cleaned up the books completely. He did sign guys to good deals, right? So we're in a solid place. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Thanks for your effort, Landry.
I agree with Chris. 6 out of. I'll be a little bit more lenient. 6.5, 7 out of 10. I think Landry, like you said, Landry inherited a nasty cap sheet. Inherited, Tony's, greed and things like that. Like all that was heightened at the time. So, he had to spend a year kind of cleaning that up and, getting him and Kyle sitting Tony down, getting him on board with the plan and how things need to be done and this and that, the third. And the DJ trade, is the DJ trade. I don't really think, and at the end, he didn't have the final say in the DJ trade. Kind of, we all know that was Tony's, like Tony and Nick's doing it for the most part. So I don't think I would put that all on him to blame. But I think when it comes down to drafting, I think drafting is like his biggest concern that a lot of people had or weren't on board with what he was doing because again, AJ played good one year. Next year, he turns into a pastor. You can't really predict that. You can't predict him becoming, that. But I don't think.
But like, if we're gonna be real about AJ on the court, even just on the court, like he clearly did not have the needs to play NBA level defense in the win.
Yeah, like yeah,
Right, and I think that's something that you saw at Duke. And obviously, like when we were talking about him possibly, we're like, okay, can he get that high school athleticism back? I don't know if drafting a wing who can shoot really well, with knee problems after dealing with Drake for 2 years is just good process. Obviously, we can look back and say, all right, Tari Eason was drafted right after him. Now he's the backup power forward or forward on a number 2 seed in the West, a 50-plus win team. We can look at Cam Whitmore, same drafted by the same team a year later, 6 picks after we picked a guard who hasn't helped us at all. So if you want to look at what happened versus best case scenario in both those situations, it's hard not to point the finger at whoever made those decisions.
I don't think we even worked AJ out. We had a bad habit of drafting guys, I think, sight unseen.
I don't think
we
a
worked.
few years.
Oh yeah, we didn't work AJ out at all. He didn't meet us at all.
Took him.
Yeah, we just kind of took him. I think because he was just best player on our board at the time. But
that's not great.
Yeah, like I said, drafting is when most of his issues came from. Because again, like I said, you can't predict AJ becoming that, but you could tell AJ was not really, whatever. Then you got Kobe. Kobe was good in idea, and we still have yet to see what Kobe really can do. Yet. So, but again, Kobe's being hurt 2 years in a row. I think a lot of the Hawks' problems have been because you haven't gotten real value out of your draft picks yet. So, and that's kind of put us in a hole because now we're relying on, older guys and stuff like that. So that was more for Landry. My main issue with Landry was like really draft evaluation. But for right now, they got a hit with Zach. But then again, it makes you wonder who actually picked.
You know what? I don't think it's just not just getting value out of draft picks. It's also not laying your draft picks that you also have not playing. Like, I think it was bad generally not to either trade Capella earlier or and just try and get let Onyeka
I mean, yeah,
get stuck.
you are.
Like I get it, I get it,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
get
no, you
that, but
spitting because
yeah,
remember,
but like
No, I
it's
think
stuff like
not getting something of value back for Capella is a
yeah,
is
not
a
getting some
blight
like
is a blight.
I
on
was
the
initially critical of a Capella Lively trade because I think
everybody was. That was the
for
main one.
Bertan, I think it was like Capella for pick I think 15 or 13 or 15 for 13 and Bertans because I was like, I don't know
No, it was
about
going to be
Bertans.
10. They had picked 10.
10,
Yeah,
10,
it
yeah,
was
10,
Capella and 15 for
yeah,
Bertans and
and
10.
Tim Hardaway Jr. But the more you think
Yeah,
about now,
some
it's just
money
like
like that. It was Bertans or Hardaway or
yeah, it's
Tim Hardaway, who was also helping a playoff
it's stuff
team.
like that where it's just at some point they should have just made more moves to allow our younger talent to play and get those opportunities.
Well, y'all are in my group chats. How often I was like, they need to say yes to a deal. I was
yeah,
Oh, yeah, you
that's a
can't.
big
Yeah, that's
issue.
that's a
They
big.
just
Yeah,
and
that was Landry's thing.
and one of the biggest, I guess, memes in the Hawks fan base during the past few years is that the Hawks never do anything during the deadline. They never make any trades.
Do something.
And that's
Sadiq
been a
Bey.
consistent issue, especially where I think not this season, but last season, right? Where they just ran it back basically. And that was heavily criticized for the most part.
I
And
think. Oh my bad. I didn't know you said that.
you can go. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You finish your point.
And I just think that while I think a lot of that is just obviously just ownership being cheap, I think that has more or less completely harmed the young players that we have, as just completely hampered the development that we could be having. I think, like compared to other teams that are in the league, because other teams just don't do that this way at all. They let their young talent play, but now we're just wasting time, just letting them just come off the bench instead of actually starring them and stuff. So it's weird. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, and it's
That's
just
true.
I think Landry's I think this has actually kind of been reported on one time. I could be wrong. I think Landry's biggest thing was he was scared to get fleeced, and he never
Yes,
knew if
that
anything was a good deal. Like he
And
was never confident on the deals he was like making.
That sounds right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember that
Yeah,
being reported.
I think after the DJ deal, like he
was
so
scared to get
badly
fleeced.
he didn't want to be viewed as overpaying again.
and I get it because the DJ deal was really bad.
People did
But-
roast him a
yeah,
lot for that. They were talking about how that was like one of the worst deals.
But at some point you have to take a risk. You have to in order for
I
the
mean,
team to be
he
better.
did, and then he spent so much time correcting the risk and then making another one.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I thought that like I would have liked to get Brandon on the team.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think if it's a move that you know that's going to get you over,
I don't know.
you gotta kind of.
Well, here's the thing, right? I know they said that they want to do the development thing this year, but a lot of that stuff is like kind of looking at yourself in the mirror and then deciding like what you should do. And we don't know how much of that is because Landry couldn't pull off the move that they wanted to do, or like if they wanted to go slow at the beginning of the season and then do something at the deadline. And he just like we don't know what their like internal goals were, and if Landry was like hitting the milestones they wanted to hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we know they want to be a good team next year. Like, there's no incentive for the Hawks to be bad in this stretch of years because they still don't have their pick next year and the year after. So, like, you want to be good. So, if they don't have confidence that Landry can, like, finish the job, right, which is, like, the big part of the next phase for this team is finishing the job, right? We got to the young core stage again, which is kind of the easy one to get to, right? You pick good young players and you let them play, and everyone's like, "Oh man, this is good young core." Now you got to figure out how to turn this into a good young team, right, and win. So we'll see what happens.
I want to ask y'all, in the end, how much of a voice do you think Landry had generally throughout the process?
If I had to get, like, I can't tell you, like, yeah, I can say that. If I had to guess, though, I don't think he had that much say so.
It's probably about like
After,
this podcast, man. Just niggas talking in a Zoom call. What are we gonna do? Landry just quiet.
they're like, Landry, you got something to say?
Landry's
No,
the
yeah, I got
host.
it.
He asks the question and then just sits there and listens.
Yeah, I don't think Landry had much, but that also isn't me alluding to saying that Tony also, because like I said, Nick isn't involved in the front office stuff anymore. I can tell you that for a
I
fact.
assume Quinn probably had a big influence.
Quinn probably, and that just goes back to who actually picked Zach, but that's a different.
So now you wonder, is Quinn Landry's guy, or is Quinn someone else's guy? If
Quinn was Corver's guy. I can tell you that right now. I would say
like
that
Corver's guy, cool, but
I think Corver's staying on the
is
development side for a reason,
who's
by the
guy?
way.
Yeah.
Much
he's
better
assistant
job security over there. He
he's
can
assistant
just
GM still.
Yeah, but assistant GM and his job is development,
Yeah.
right? He's not
That's
involved.
why.
Like, he might scout some stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that he's wants to be the one in front of the gun. You know what I'm saying? Because if you pull on the trigger, the owner's looking at you, right?
Yeah. But I think like I said, it probably was. I don't think Landry never. I can confidently say this one. I believe this one. I don't think Landry ever had the final say so. I think it went back to Onzi that had the final say so, because he has way more experience than Landry, and he's also
probably in Quinn. You know what I'm saying?
he's already the GM now.
Yeah, he's GM now, but yeah, so that lets you know he was kind of already behind the scenes in the back. So, I think it was most of his decisions.
Another question I want to ask too is that now Landry is fired. Do you guys think they're rushing the process of whatever they're trying to do at this point? Since now this developmental year is over, technically, now we are assuming that they're trying to make the playoffs again. Like they're trying to be actually good. No more playing, none of that stuff.
I don't
trying to be top 6 seed.
I don't believe they're rushing them. Like I can't really fully answer it now because we don't know what
their plan is.
Yeah, we don't know the plan fully,
fair.
and I'm pretty sure he'll have an introductory pressure, just to because that's formal stuff you have to do, I guess. But I don't think they're rushing the process because, again, everybody still had to be on board with that one thing, and you have a way better young core than what you did the first time we tried to rush the process.
That's true.
So I think long as you don't break up your core 4 or 5, and debate is 4, then I think you're fine. As long as you build around that core 4, you should be fine.
Wait. Did you just say the debate 4?
You can debate as 5, but that's how you view Onyeka, I guess.
All right.
Well, what I'll say is like the rushing the process thing is like that's when you have a bunch of dudes on rookie deals, bro. When you just when you draft John, then you draft Trey, and then Dre and them, you can let that stuff kind of ride out until you got to start paying people. But you're about to have Onyeka on an extension. Jalen's money is about to kick in. You're about to have to pay Trey Young. Dyson Daniels is an MIP finalist and a DPOY finalist. You're about to pay him. The process is well underway, dog. People are getting paid. Like, you can't be bad and expensive at the same time. So the next phase is to figure out how to make this a good team. Like, Zach's one of the only guys that's going to be cheap, other than the dudes on poverty deals. You know what I'm saying? So these 2 first-round picks will be cheap deals, cheap controllable rookie contracts. But everybody else is making real money, and when you're paying guys real money, you start to count wins. So they got to figure it out, man. What's next?
You didn't let 2 young teams lap you already.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, they're about to hit their money crunch, right? Like we're talking, like I said, like the first stage is easy. You just get a bunch of talent because you're cheap, right? You're getting lottery picks, you're getting lottery talent, and within a year, those guys are solid NBA players for the most part. And after 4 years, you got a bunch of really solid NBA players. But then you have to start paying each and every one of them summer after summer. Next thing you know, you got 2 dudes on a max deal, and you don't have any room for these vets that want $20 million, right? So you got to start building from within. Like, you're not trying to figure out how to get minutes out of rookie dudes. we hit that crunch, and now we're on the other side of it. Tony paid everybody. You can't pay everybody is the big issue, right? And deciding who to pay and all that is complicated. But we made it to the other side. But yeah, they got to figure out what to do next, because you can't just have people on money and not win.
Leon?
Yeah, we just don't know. At base level, we don't really know if they're rushing it by firing Landry. I think that if they would have traded whatever it took to get Brandon Ingram or Pascal Siakam, we would how do I say, we wouldn't say that they were rushing it. So I think that how young the team is this year and the moves they made to get even younger in trading Bogey and Dre. Well, I mean, they kind of stayed the same because they didn't really trade them for young guys. But in an effort to reset the books, I don't think they're moving too fast at all. I think that they're right where they need to be. What they do this summer, again, like this is going to be a big summer regardless of who's in charge. So it'll be interesting to see whether they stay the course, put their foot on the brake, or put their foot on the gas pedal. We don't know.
My last move. I said last move. My last topic for y'all is basically, what do you guys think the Hawks should look for in the next GM generally? Like,
we already have our GM president.
No, I mean they're gonna be looking for a new one. They hired an interviewing agency, Sports.
Yeah, that's for director of basketball operations.
Oh,
they already
right.
hired Ansel as the GM.
Oh, that is? Oh, okay.
President of whatever.
Dang. Okay, so never mind.
I mean, that guy could want a new GM. We don't know.
Oh, I got confused.
Bro, they might have already picked that guy. This could all be for show, man. Deals of this magnitude, like there's so much money that dude's about to be paid. Like they might have made that decision like weeks ago.
Like the Kings did.
Yeah, they're just going through the motions. But we'll see. If they hire a dude like next week, they ain't hire no service, bro. They already had that. They already had that thing wrapped up.
Yeah, they already had somebody planned if he's by next week. But they hired a whole council to help with the search, so I don't think they have a concrete name yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for correcting me because I need to pay attention next time. Oh my god.
Yeah, Onzi was, like I said, that's why we were like hinting at earlier that Onzi probably was the one making
the moves. That makes sense. Yeah.
Like, because we hired him last season as assistant GM, and he was already, up there, and he has more experience than Landry by a lot too. So
yeah, it was with Golden State, like the best
Spurs, then Golden State, and he was there in their Bob Myers era too. So
yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. So already the Hawks off season is beginning with a bang. So does anyone have any? Oh, go ahead, Leon.
No, I just said hey.
Oh yeah.
Change is good. We'll see what the plan is. I'm excited for this next section of Hawks basketball. That's all I can say.
Yeah, man. New GM, and they want to be good, so it's exciting. I mean, there's money opened up, and yeah,
flexibility.
Can't wait. Wait, is Kawhi 11 for 12 in the game?
Savage. Yeah, I mean they got a guy in Onsasala. I remember when we initially hired him, they were talking about he was a cap guru. So it helped the Warriors navigate the tax during the Kevin Durant years. They were spending a lot of money. So maybe this is a team that is trying to head in that direction moving forward. I hope so.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, Kawhi isn't 11 for 12. He's 12 for 13. He's 5 free throws.
Oh my god!
He's shooting 92%.
He's 32 points.
The Terminator. Oh my god!
Shot. Oh, Kawhi's back.
But we will also quick pick update since I need to do that since I forgot to mention at the beginning of the podcast. The NBA did their coin flips today for the pick. Sacramento pick is pick 13. So, and the Lakers pick is pick 22. So we got the best odds. So we got the best choices for each pick. So
13 and 22.
Yeah, it's really good luck for the Hawks. I don't know. Really good luck. Get paid off for that, but
so That's actually a really good start to the season for us.
That's how you know
Yeah.
Salah got the hookup.
Yep.
Lottery draft is next
Salah
month.
effect,
on the
man.
12th.
It's already hitting. But yeah, I can't wait to start scouting. I don't really do do like casual college scouting until we know where our picks are, and then I like lock in on like who's around there, and I like learn everything about them. So this is the fun part. We know what we
Yep.
got.
Draft is in June, so it'll sneak up on us.
Yeah, it's gonna be quick. And I really cannot wait to see what happens. But with that, anyone have any final thoughts before we close this out?
Trust
Caw.
the process. Well, we're not saying trust the process. Believe Atlanta. Believe.
Believe.
Trust in Ante Sala, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, we will see you for the next edition of Hard Knock Hawks.
Oh.